So today we're going to be running through how you install an EasyFeed connector. These are the different parts that are included in your system. On some of our newer systems you'll find that we have an integrated EasyFeed system. So these are replaced by one fitting which has both of these connected. This makes installation a little bit easier, but on the systems that still have these two separate, these also have the advantages regarding installation, making it a little bit easier with if you have a very little space to work with. Most of the systems also include a small roll of thread tape if you don't have any spare at home. So it should look something like this. It's a 3-meter roll and should be enough for you to connect these up as necessary. So starting out, you'll start by applying thread tape to this fitting. Not necessarily to apply thread tape to this fitting. You'll see at the bottom of this fitting there's a black O-ring. That's quite important. Just in case it's inside the fitting, you need to remove it and include it on the female side. Just push it in there. This is going to seal against the pipe coming out of your wall. And then on this side it should seal against your flex pipe that goes through to your tap. So either of those have, on that side obviously the rubber washer, and your flex pipe should have a rubber washer as well, sealing against there. So if you apply thread tape to this end, you should be able to fit it in there and it should seal correctly. So what we need to do here, let's start with this fitting. Just keep in mind that there is a correct and an incorrect way to apply thread tape. What you'd want to do is remove the cover from the thread tape by just pushing it out. Then find the end. There we go. So the correct way to apply thread tape, what we want to do is when we want to hold the fitting in our left hand and then apply the thread tape over the top and around the back, just like that. This is going to ensure that the thread tape doesn't unscrew as you screw your fitting in. We then recommend giving this a good couple of turns. This is quite forgiving as far as the thread tape goes. It's quite thin, so you can give it a couple of turns. Usually about 10 to 15 turns should be enough. But once you've done that, you can just then break it off. I'm not going to give it all of the thread tape required just here for demonstration purposes. You can then take your hand and just run it across the thread tape to secure the thread tape to the system, and a little bit might be pinched off the end. That's fine as long as the threads are covered. You can then take your EasyFeed connector. So this should already be connected inside your cupboard. This end, like I said, to the flex pipe, this end to the pipe coming out of your wall, and you can then just screw this into the fitting. So it's quite simple, just along there. So keep in mind, this doesn't have to go all the way in. As long as these threads are sealed, you should be fine. If you could look there, you'll see it's about a good 4 or 5 millimeters still sticking out, and we're very close to pushing through there. That should be fine. What we recommend doing is, once this is installed, just closing off this tap and then opening up the water, giving it a few minutes to check if there's any water that drips out here. It makes it much easier to unthread or unscrew and re-thread tape if required. Usually if this does leak, it's because of one of two reasons: either that too little thread tape has been applied and it's not sealing correctly, or you've applied far too much thread tape and this has started pushing off. So if you do find that there's a leak, turn off the water, and then you can usually just release the pressure through here. There'll be a lot of water that drips out there, and then unscrew the fitting. If you find that thread tape has all been, that there's very little thread tape here, it's been bunched up into this corner, that's usually an indication of too much thread tape. We recommend usually then removing the thread tape and re-wrapping it. If you have too little, then obviously you're going to want to give it a couple more wraps. Just make sure you run your fingers across to make sure that the different layers adhere well and that you don't have slippage between the layers. You can then reinsert, give it another try, and you should be good to go.